Alex Palou, watch your six, because we're back in the six, and this is Andretti's playground. Kyle Kirkwood, the fastest driver in practice, won yesterday, but the story was about track and tires. The fast times yesterday, Kirkwood on top from McLaughlin, Palou not far behind, Armstrong showing brilliantly once again. Will Power was the fastest driver on the hard tires earlier in the day. Then Eilert, a brilliant time for him in the Prema. Award for Lucas Lundgaard and Colton Herta, who absolutely dominated proceedings 1 year ago. We said at the top of the show, guys, yesterday was about track conditions and about tires. Not as much of a leap between the hard and the soft as we were expecting to see. And just the condition of the circuit, a lot of work has been put in here in Toronto, but a lot of work has been put in overnight. They've actually laid some new asphalt down on the run down to turn 3. Still a significant bump, as we saw on board with Josef Newgarden just a few moments ago. But big work from IndyCar to try to level out that bump.
Just watching on board here with Josef Newgarden, thanks to PPG. It's kind of curious for me to see what the track evolution's like overnight. Temperatures still down, track temp under 100 degrees at 97 right now. So things should feel better for Newgarden and all the drivers in this first set of laps versus yesterday, just by virtue of more rubber being laid down with the support series. And it's starting to look a little bit more familiar, James, in terms of the grip that's available to work with.
Yeah, you just watch the kind of transition from the entry phase of the corner, the mid phase to the exit. It's not taking as long as we come up to that section that's been repaved right there. And, oh, I don't know. Big effort from IndyCar, from the promoters, to get that an entire, section, the width of the racetrack. New asphalt was laid overnight, but that still seems like a pretty significant bump from behind the wheel of an IndyCar.
It looks like a very narrow strip, almost as if you paved over the bump. Maybe it was a dip.
It was a dip.
Yeah.
Right. So they've kind of filled it in. I feel like it needs to be a little longer.
But to your point, as Newgarden goes up to the top of the time charts, the general flow of the track just looks a lot more kind of in sync than it did yesterday. Grip level coming up, and we talked about it yesterday. The track evolution here is quite large, so no surprise that it looks quite a bit more settled right now.
But Kyle Kirkwood in a livery that is going to confuse us all this weekend, because it looks so much like that of his teammate Colton Herta. And a little bit more Tokyo drift. We love that down through turns 1 and 2 down at Prince's Gate.
Toronto drift.
Oh, I like it.
Let's listen on board. I love the fact that he grabbed an upshift mid-drift and he had the power and the skill and the will to ride it out. Wheel is Santino Ferrucci. Had a little moment too.
Oh, big lockup.
I wonder if that was over that bump. That's kind of around the same part of the track where that bump happens.
I believe it's
before the brake zone. It was a dip. Maybe now it's a bump.
And there is a show of intent early doors, all within half a second of one another. 3 Andretti teammates, 1, 2, 3, and Ferrucci again going deep. Can't blame the bump that time. That's down at turn 8.
Well, there's some bumps there too.
There's some different bumps.
Not the same bump.
There's not a corner on this racetrack where you couldn't blame a bump, such as the nature of it. But look, that's part of the character of this place, right? You were kind of just talking about it, Townsend. This is what makes this place so special. It is tough. It is challenging. A lot of drivers don't like it, but you talk to guys like Scott Dixon who say, I love it here in Toronto because it's so challenging, because it's so different, as we see Herta off now at the end of turn 3. And it is just such a unique challenge.
So everyone out and pushing early on in this session. We ride on board with him. Let's see if it is that bump.
Oh. Just rear lockup before the dip. You just hear the engine RPMs drop with the rear lockup.
Now the replay then on board. Well, not on board, sorry, outboard.
But you could see it's just right as the car rebounds off that bump, the front tires just both lock immediately. Let's watch from the onboard, see if you can hear it.
Oh,
yeah.
How soft do you want your car set up around here for the bumps?
As soft as you can get away with until you start to lose the platform stability that you need for the final few S's. And specifically, I think turn 6 is probably the biggest platform test here but because it's so bumpy, you want to drop your spring rates all the way to the limit where you can still hang on to the car in the transitions. It used to be we had one tire compound, and you kind of just check that your car's okay, make sure everything's working as Will Power goes long in turn 8. But today, that warm-up is so essential for gathering tire data on road and street circuits.
Will Power, who was the fastest driver on the hard tire yesterday. Man who's won here on 3 occasions in the past.
I mean, Louis Foster in P1, guys. I mean, he's had 3 top 6 qualifying performances this year, but all on permanent road courses. But to be on a street circuit and go to the top, I think that's a huge sign of progress for Rahal Letterman Lanigan.
And we were talking to Bobby Rahal back in mid-Ohio, and he was so pleased that he has Louis Foster signed up to a long-term deal.
Jacob Abel on screen here, having an interesting start to his weekend so far. I think we got a little bit of radio from him. Let's hear what he's been saying.
You got fuel in the vent hose here. You got fuel in the vent hose here. That's why it's slow. There's a whole bunch of fuel there trying to go up the vent. It can't go up the vent. See that fuel there? That's keeping the air from coming out.
It's a problem on pit lane for the 51 as they try to refuel that car in between runs. And Townsend, just looking at this thing on track, it looks fierce. It looks pretty loose. Back of that race car, almost every corner, it looks like Jacob Abel's having to catch that thing, just really fighting the rear end right now.
He's coming off his career best IndyCar finish at Iowa. He wasn't fast there, but he was smart, stayed out of trouble, and he actually looked racy late in the race, trying to unlap himself a little bit, but kept it out of the wall when there was chaos all around him and came home 11th. I mean, for a rookie year, Louis Foster has been super impressive on pace as Will Power is going to get held up here by Devlin DeFrancesco.
Won't be happy with that.
No.
Lots of Indy cars on a 1.7-mile street circuit. You're going to get these moments because the alt-start finish line is right off of turn 6 here. Actually, it's in turn 7, but you need to be kind of accelerating out of 6 to hit the alt-start finish line. You know, Dev was just checking up to get a gap in front of him. Will comes up behind him. They don't officiate that in practice, but it could be a big topic of conversation come qualifying this afternoon.
It moved out.
Oh, yeah, you can just see that.
So if we go back to that screen before and that shot of it after these replays, you notice the dark part is where they've laid it overnight. It appears the bump is slightly before, or is it just me? It looks like it's 2 parts. So you have this part here that's been laid overnight, but the bump is occurring here. You see? There's a little bunny hop here, bunny hop, and then it's the smooth glide down that they've relayed overnight.
What's interesting for me is, you know, kind of to Jack's point, is I'm sure there is a section, right? So whether it's here, where if you line your car up there, the bump is slightly less aggressive. So that's going to be what drivers search around and find in this session. But what concerns me about that is that means outside of that one lane, that's the best. If it's worse, that's going to make passing down into 3 a little bit harder if you're more prone to locking outside of that one section. If there is one section, that's a little bit smoother.
On board with Alexander Rossi, 10th place at the moment as Lundgaard jumps up to 9th. And announcement in the week from ECR, a new factory, new shop being built for the 2027 season. Big investment in that team over the winter. And really, this team feels like it has a whole new personality this year. You know, they're ever more present on our screens, easier to determine the cars, but also just about the way they're going about their racing. Alex walking with a spring in his step, Rasmussen impressing and really being someone to talk about. There's a great vibe around this team right now.
Yeah, I mean, big investment in the offseason, like you say, some big plans that Ed Carpenter has. There's been a rebrand of the team, you know, commercially speaking. And you've got 2 great drivers behind the wheel. But as you ride on board, you know, this looks still like a little bit of a struggle for Rossi. He was 17th in practice yesterday. He is running in 11th at the moment, but that car doesn't look comfortable.
The amount of steering input, the amount of steering degrees with each input is seemingly double the front-running cars that we've seen right now, and it just doesn't look happy. It looks all over the place, and I don't know if that's if Alex is over-inputting the car as much as it's... I mean, this guy knows how to win on street circuits. He's been dominant in many races back when he was with the Andretti crew. But, man, it is lively. Not always calm, as a few laps ago, Colton Herta.
Oof, little kiss.
Little kiss, I guess. But yeah, he can get fiery on the radio when things are completely under control and growing great, and then they aren't all of a sudden. That's when things can flare up a bit with the driver, the number 26, as Will Power gets ready to climb out here. Sits 8th, but 7/10 off Colton Herta. James, that is a country mile on a 1.7 mile street circuit. So if you're Team Penske, you're like, yeah, we're doing okay, but we're half a second off these Andretti guys.
And it's so backwards from what we've seen as we take a replay here with Nolan Siegel down into turn 3, where we've seen so many issues, just wide, locked up, decided to take the runoff. But, you know, we could have been in...
that's Abel.
Left rear, it looks like, has
turn
been
8.
into the fence.
It looks
But he
like
locked
through
the
turn
rears.
7, you can see maybe he had contact there.
And... yeah, from the screen, it's looking like...
Checkered flag. What happened here? Oh, he already broke the toe link, maybe. Whoa. Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's gone.
Yeah, he had clipped the wall earlier, and I'm shocked that he was staying with it.
That's, I mean, that could have been much worse than it was. I mean, 3 corners, but still, if you've tapped the wall, it's a bit of a risk to go flat out through turn 7.
Wow.
I mean, it was after the checkered, so technically not a red flag in that session.
He was on a flyer.
Fallen, which means we didn't get the red, and this is what did the damage.
I mean, at that point, you got to dump the throttle.
So that's coming out of 6, and then in that next corner in 7, yeah.
Crikey, and he was still at full tilt.
And it's
he got a right front hit, too.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. 3 of the 4 corners,
Ooh.
damage for sure. And there's just, unfortunately, there was no need for it. You come to the checkered, it's practice. You know you've clobbered the wall. What are you gaining there?
But doesn't that just summarize the general spirit of all the drivers that aren't winning right now coming into Toronto every year? It can get sometimes a little desperate, frustration, and we get to the race tomorrow, Kevin, and it can all break loose in a very chaotic way. At Toronto, it usually does.
Practice all done here in Toronto, and it's a familiar scene at the top. Colton Herta, Kyle Kirkwood leading the way for Andretti. Herta half a second quicker than Newgarden, then McLaughlin, O'Ward, Dixon, Palou, Power, Malukas, Rosenquist, and look at that, P6 to P10, all in the 1 minute flat, 0.7 seconds. That is just how tight it is. Dixon and Palou, an identical lap time here in Toronto.